Okay, everybody. So in this section, there's a whole lot of what Alex calls renaming. Okay, and all they mean is when you add or subtract or whatever your mixed numbers, that you end up with a fraction that's improper, an improper fraction, or in other words, where the numerator is bigger than the denominator. Something like that. Because normally we prefer something more like this, where the numerator is smaller than the denominator. But in this section, we're going to see stuff like this. And it's not a real big deal. So how do we do it? Well, 2 plus 4, those are the whole numbers. So that gives you 6. Okay. 4/5 and 3/5, that's 7/5. Okay. Oh, look at this. The numerator is bigger than the denominator. And let's see. So we know that 7/5 is, let's see, we can peel off 5/5, where the top and bottom are the same. And that'll leave us 2 more fifths. Okay. But the reason why we did that is because that can be simplified to just 1. So I can rewrite this as 6. So instead of 6 plus 7/5, which is the same as 6 and 7/5, I can rewrite it as 6 plus 1 and 2/5. Okay. Or you know what? That's kind of a silly way of doing it. Let's just do this. So I can just rewrite this as 6 plus 1 and 2/5. Yeah, I'm just going to write it like that. How about that? So the 7/5 gets replaced with 1 and 2/5. Okay. Well, 6 plus 1 and 2/5, since these guys are both whole numbers, I just combine them and I get 7 and 2/5. Okay. So that's this stuff right here is all you got to do. And the main thing was when I peeled off this right here, I said, okay, well, 5/5, that's 1 by itself. So I'll rewrite it like that. All right, let's do something else that's real similar, even though it's technically a different topic. Okay, on this one, now we're going to do the same thing, except we are going to subtract, or basically the same thing. Okay, so on this one, you may notice, all right, well, I can handle 9 minus 2, that's 7, no big deal. But 2 9s minus 5 9s, that doesn't work out quite the way we want. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take that first number, 9 and 2 9s, and we're going to peel off a 1 out of the 9. And I'm just going to peel off a 1 every time, because I can rewrite 1. Since the denominator in this problem is 9, I can rewrite it as 9 over 9. And I'm running out of room on the bottom. And so 9 9s plus 2 9s is 11 9s. So I can rewrite the problem as 8 and 11 9s minus 2 and 5 9s. And then that way, when I do the subtraction, I don't get a negative fraction. Okay. So now I can just say, all right, 8 minus 2 is 6. 11 9s minus 5 9s is 6 9s, I think. Yeah. And you can cancel a 3 out of the top and bottom and get 6 2/3. That is how it is. I know my chair is squeaky. All righty. So now, what happens if the denominators are not the same, which happens a lot? Okay. So then we look, we got to get common denominators because we have addition going on. It's addition or subtraction, you got to worry about the denominators, making them common. Okay, so if the denominators are 2 and 9, the least common denominator from what we've learned before is 18. So I need to get both of the denominators to become 18. So I'll take 6.5 and I will multiply it by 9. Well, I guess I'm not even going to bother writing that out. I'll multiply the top and bottom of the fraction by 9 to get 6 and 9/18. And then the 5 and 7/9, I'll multiply the top and bottom of that fraction by 2 to get 14/18, I think. Let's see, 9/18, 2 times 7. Yeah, okay. So, so this becomes 6 and 9/18 plus 5 and 14/18, because you can't add halves and nines because they're not the same type of thing, not the same amount. Okay, so 6 and 5 makes 11. 9/18 and 14/18 is 23/18. Oh, the numerator is bigger than the denominator. I think we know how to handle that. So I can write that. I can peel off 18/18 because that's going to be equal to 1. And then that will leave me with 5 more 18ths for a total of 23/18 that we had originally. And so that gives us that right there. And 11 and 1 is 12. And then the 5/18. That is going to be our final answer. So yeah, you got to determine the least common denominator, use that to get common denominators. Then you can start attacking this thing, doing what we've already seen in the past. Okay. All right, so now we're into subtraction, and we got to get common denominators, except, wait a minute, let's do something that's a different denominator, okay? That's the same one we just had. Okay, there we go, that's better. Okay, so we've got 7 and 5 6 minus 7/8. The denominators are different, and that makes a difference because it's subtraction. So the least common denominator is, let's see, did they both divide into 8? Nope. How about 16? Nope. 24? Yes. Okay. So 24 is going to be the smallest number that the two denominators both divide into. And so I've got to take, just like on the last problem, got to rewrite the fraction so it has the denominator 24, so I can get common denominators. So I'm going to need to multiply 6 by 4 to get 24, and so I'll multiply the 5 by 4 as well, so that I have 7 and 20/24. And then for the 7/8, I need to multiply the 8 by 3 to get the LCD. So I'll do the top also by 3. Okay, so this becomes 7 and 20/24 minus 21/24. Holy cow, would you look at that? The numerator here minus that numerator there is going to be a negative. So it's time to use more of what we've learned in this video. Okay, we got to get this numerator beefed up. We got to increase it. So I'm going to take my 7 and 20/24, and like we've seen already, I'm going to peel off a 1 from that 7. Okay, because that 1 can be written, since we're dealing with 24ths, can be written as 24/24. And so 24/24 plus 20/24, well, that's a tongue twister, is going to be 44/24 with the 6 out front. Okay, so now we can come back here and keep going. So 6 and 44/24 minus 21/24. So it's kind of like borrowing when you just do grade school adding. It's yeah, it's like, hey, I'm gonna the fraction here is gonna borrow 1 whole unit to become bigger. Okay. Okay. Alrighty, so we've got 6 minus, well, 0. There's no number out in front, so it'll just be 6. Okay, and then our LCD is 24, and 44 minus 21 is 23. And there it is. There's our final answer. Okay, now notice, I didn't know that I needed to do this stuff until after I had already gotten common denominators. Once I had those common denominators, then I could say, oh, okay, this numerator, the first numerator is smaller than the second numerator, and it's subtraction, it's addition, it doesn't matter. And then so that was the point at which I said, oh, I got to borrow one from the 7 and get that numerator bigger on the first mixed number. Okay. Okay, so Ivan, I was kind of thinking of naming my son Ivan. Kind of like that name, but that didn't happen. Ivan jogs 4 2/3 miles from his house. He then jogs 3 1/8 miles farther. How many miles has Ivan jogged in all? Well, I think we can all agree that we are going to need to add the two of them, but we don't have common denominators. Oh, that's not the addition sign. There we go. I don't know what I was doing there. So we need a least common denominator. Least common denominator of 3 and 8. Let's see, 8 times 1, 3 doesn't divide into it. 8 times 2, 3 doesn't divide into it. 8 times 3, of course, 3 divides into it because it's 8 times 3. So 24 is going to be our LCD again. So if I multiply the 3 by 8, I get the 24, which means I got to multiply the 2 by 8 as well. Okay, and then for the 3 1/8, if I multiply the 8 by 3, I get 24, so I got to multiply the 1 by 3 as well. All right, so now we've got our numbers. So it's going to be 4 and 16/24 plus, not minus, 3 and 3/24, I think. Yeah. So 4 and 3 is 7 miles, 7 complete miles. And then we've got 16/24 plus another 3/24, and that'll be a total of 19/24, a little over half a mile. Well, actually, a bit more than half a mile. 12/24 would be half a mile. So that's about 7 3/4 miles. A little over, I think. So yeah, just a hair over 7 3/4. So that is how it is done. And notice the numerator is not bigger than the denominator, so we don't need to go any further. Okay, but if it had been like a 29, hang on, let me change. If that had been like a 29 instead of a 19, then we'd have to say, oh, that's too big. We got to peel off one, and we would have ended up with 8 and 5/24. Okay, but that didn't happen. So it's just 7 and 19/24. And because it's a word problem, we really ought to include our units, because a number without units doesn't really mean anything. Okay. That's just the way life is. So that's it.